Hey, I'm Abby and welcome back to the Life Work Balance YouTube channel. Today I want to talk to you about video interviews and how you can really kill it during your next video interview. When it comes to video interviewing, there are really two types of interviews that you will likely encounter. The first is a one-way video interview, and this is through a platform like HireVue or Spark Hire or something similar. And this is where it's just you and your computer. You are given pre-templated questions, and then you record your answer and it gets sent off for evaluation. The other type of interview is a live interview, and this would be a live virtual interview. So this would be on a platform like Microsoft Teams, Skype, Zoom, WebEx, something like that. And this is where you are interacting with your computer, but there are other people live on the other end of the line who are communicating with you throughout the interview. So I've got some tips for you on how to handle both of these different types of interviews. This video will specifically focus on that one-way interview, and then stick around because my video next week will be about how to handle the live virtual interview. Before we jump into that, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you're looking forward to learning some tips about how you can have a successful one-way interview. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and remember to hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can receive life work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. Okay, so like I mentioned, there are those two different types of interviews, the one-way kind of pre-recorded interviews, and then a live virtual interview. We're going to talk exclusively about the one-way interviews during this video. One-way interviews are virtual and through platforms like HireVue or Spark Hire. And they can be a little bit nerve-wracking to do because it's uncomfortable to just be speaking to yourself and know that your answers are being recorded and evaluated at a later date. So here are some things to keep in mind when it comes to these types of interviews. First, organizations who use these types of one-way interviews use it kind of like a screening process. So you might apply to a position and then get an email back saying they would like you to do this one-way video interview. And it's likely that you and many other people received the same request. So while it might feel good to get that email back, it's also something to understand that probably everyone who meets minimum qualifications will also be going through this pre-recorded interview. This is a way that organizations can sort candidates into highly qualified, medium qualified, and low qualified applicants. They will likely only spend their time and energy actually interviewing those highly qualified candidates. So it's important that you use this opportunity to demonstrate how you are a highly qualified candidate. Now, each platform might do something slightly different, but you can usually expect these types of pre-recorded interviews to take 15 to 30 minutes max. It's not going to be extremely long. It might even be shorter than 15 minutes. You will have a set number of questions that will go to everyone who's going through this process, likely 3 to 6 or 3 to 10 questions that you will have to record a response to. And then there may even be some gamification to it. So there might be some brain teaser questions that they ask you, like math, spatial awareness, memory, things like that, as long as it relates to the actual job that you've been applying to. You'll likely have 15 to 30 minutes to complete both sets of questions if they're both included. The hiring manager is likely the person who chooses what questions will be asked, both those recorded response questions as well as those brain teaser questions if they're included. So the hiring manager is the one who makes those decisions about what questions to include. They may choose to also have a time limit for each of those types of questions. So there might be a question where you can record a 30-second long answer or a 3-minute long answer. Most recording time frames are between that 30-second to 3-minute mark. You will likely have 30 seconds to prepare your pre-recorded answer, and then you will be given that allotted time frame. Like I said, 30 seconds to 3 minutes. If you've been given a question that allows you to record an answer for 3 minutes, don't feel pressured to use the full 3 minutes. Short and sweet and concise is usually a better option, so don't feel like you have to take up that full time frame. However, it is important to keep in mind the time frames so that you understand what type of question and answer they're looking for. So if a 30-second response is available, then it's likely just a really short and sweet, concise response about your experience. However, if it's a 3-minute response that's available, then they're likely expecting a little bit more detail and response to those types of questions. Depending on the platform used and what the hiring manager has or has not selected, you may also have more than one take to record your response. So this means that you might have 0 takes, which means your very first recording is what will be used. Or you may have 3 to 5 takes or unlimited takes, which means you can record your response, watch it back, decide if you like it, make some tweaks, and re-record it if you want. A lot of these programs also use very similar types of questions. So you can expect some of the following questions to come up during this pre-recorded interview. The first is likely, tell me about yourself. So you do a brief introduction. Now this question can be really tricky to answer, so I highly recommend that you go ahead and watch my other videos on how to introduce yourself during an interview. And those will give you tips on how you can successfully answer this question in a short period of time without giving too much information or rambling. It's also likely that you'll be asked what your long-term career plans are. So where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Again, this is a good screening question because it lets the hiring manager know how serious you are about this position with this particular organization. Hiring managers do not want to hire someone who's just going to take a position for a very short period of time before jumping into something else. While that may be true and that may be something that you're thinking about doing, you don't want to admit to that during the interview process. The other type of question that you can likely expect during this type of interview process is, why did you leave your last job? What made you quit? Something like that. They want to know why you are moving into this organization or this role. Again, similar to the last question about where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, they were looking for commitment to this job, commitment to this organization, excitement, passion, as well as those skills that you're bringing with you. They may also ask you about your strengths and your weaknesses. And then they'll also ask you probably why you want to work here. Why do you want this job? So all of those questions are very typical interview questions, and they're also really hard to answer in an effective way. So I've got several videos on each of these topics. I've linked to them in the description box below. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can answer those types of questions, check those out next. So how do you make a really good impression when you are actually doing this one-way pre-recorded interview? Well, understand that these types of interviews are likely scored by a computer first. So artificial intelligence will likely be going through your responses, transcribing what you say, and comparing it to kind of those desired responses that the hiring manager is looking for. So your answers will be first reviewed by a computer before they're sent off to someone who's a real person to review. So trick number 1 is getting past the AI. You have to be able to use those keywords and phrases that the hiring manager is looking for. And this isn't very predictable. However, with the right interview prep, you can respond in a way to show that you are the most qualified for the position. Use some of those keywords and phrases from the job posting that you applied to. Look on their website. Use keywords from their About Us section, their mission, vision, values, etc. So there are ways you can plug in those keywords and phrases to really highlight you as a candidate and get past that initial computer screening so that your pre-recorded interview is actually reviewed by a person who can then make the decision to send you on to the next phase of the interview. So in order to have this success with both the computer and that next person, you need to have high quality audio. So ensure that you are in a place where there is not a lot of background noise, where there's not a lot of distractions going on that's pulling you away from this experience of recording your responses. So you don't want to be in a high traffic area like in your car with traffic in the background. You don't want to be in a Starbucks. You don't want to be sitting in your living room with your pets or children or family members running around you in all directions. You want to be somewhere that is quiet, that is not full of distractions, and that is simple. If you do not have a space in your home where you are able to do this, I highly recommend reserving a room in a library nearby you. Most of the time, these reservations are free, and you can have a relatively clean, quiet space to do this pre-recorded interview. Because this is pre-recorded, it's also really easy to let your energy level go down. You want to make sure that you keep your energy level up. You want to be personable, you want to be excited, you want to be enthusiastic about the job. If you can't communicate that during your pre-recorded interview, and you come off like a robot who's monotone and boring to listen to, you're not going to catch the attention of the human who's evaluating your interview if you get past the AI. If you find yourself maybe talking too much or too quickly, or you're appearing too excitable, slow down how you're speaking. You can still be high energy, smiling, making eye contact with your computer, and speak in a slow way to demonstrate your confidence and competence. And that leads me into the body language side of things. Make eye contact with your camera rather than watching yourself on the screen. It may be helpful to take a sticky note and put it on your computer screen with an arrow pointing to the camera that says, "Look here." You want whoever is going to be watching your video interview that has been pre-recorded to feel like you're talking to them, rather than monotone, robotic, eyes not meeting the camera, looking at your little picture in the bottom screen, distracted, etc. You want to be warm, friendly, smile, connect to the other person, even though it might be uncomfortable with you just talking to your camera. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or ideas, or your own experience with a pre-recorded interview through a platform like HireVue or Spark Hire, throw them in the comments box below. I love receiving comments. I try to get back to you individually if you do leave me a comment. However, if I'm not able to do so, still sharing your own experience and those thoughts and ideas can help someone else who is going through the same interview preparation process. If you are really nervous for this next step of the interview phase, where you are going to be doing a pre-recorded interview, feel free to contact me and we can set up an interview strategy session where we strategize how you might answer some of these very common interview questions, how you might use your experience and the job description to answer those questions, and overall talk about your confidence and how you might come off during this pre-recorded interview. I'll give you feedback on your body language, your speech style, your lighting, backgrounds, etc. So if you're looking for more of that one-on-one specialized help, let me know. I put my contact information in the description box below. Check that out and reach out to me if you would like help preparing for your next pre-recorded one-way video interview. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the bell so that you can continue to receive life-work balance advice delivered directly to you every Sunday. And once you've hit that subscribe button as well as that notifications icon, you will be notified next week when this next video in this series is posted about how you can have an effective live virtual interview rather than a pre-recorded interview. So the next step in most of these interview processes is having an interview with one or more people on a panel where they are actually interacting with you through a platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or Skype or something like that. And there are ways that you can really set yourself up for success in that. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that video next week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.